In the final decade of the 19th century, Manhattan was a digital blueprint coming to life, a city of extreme contrasts where millionaires built stone palaces just blocks away from overcrowded tenements. This was the Gilded Age, an era when elevated steam trains carved iron paths through the sky, and New York officially began its ascent as the capital of the world. Welcome to Binary BC, your portal into the high-resolution past. Subscribe to Binary BC now to watch as we decode the architectural and social DNA of the 1890s using advanced AI reconstruction. Our rendering begins in 1891 at Union Square West and 17th Street. Here, we see New York literally tearing its own skin apart to upgrade its infrastructure. Massive excavations expose the subterranean nervous system of the city, sewer lines, gas pipes, and the early whispers of subway planning. With the population approaching 2 million, the city could no longer function on surface-level logic alone. It had to move underground. Through our AI lens, we see workers dwarfed by the trenches they dig, while the buildings above continue to operate in a state of constant, organized chaos. This is the core algorithm of New York. To grow, it must constantly break and rebuild itself. By 1898, the data stream takes us to Wall Street, draped in a sea of American flags. This patriotic display celebrates the victory in the Spanish-American War, a conflict that signaled the nation's arrival as a global power. Wall Street is already the undisputed financial processor of America, home to the stock exchange and the banks that funded the Industrial Revolution. The canyon effect is beginning to take shape as buildings climb higher, trapping the sounds of horse-drawn carriages and early internal combustion engines between stone walls. This is the heart of global capitalism, where business and national identity are fused into a single stream of power. Subscribe to Binary BC to see more financial empires rendered in 4000. Next, we process the Brooklyn Bridge, 11 years after its monumental opening. From this Manhattan vantage point, we see the steel cables stretching across the East River like a massive data link. Before 1883, Brooklyn and Manhattan were separate worlds connected only by slow-moving ferries. The bridge changed the city's operating system, allowing thousands of commuters to flow between the boroughs every day. Our AI highlights the elevated train tracks running along the span, the lifeblood that turned Brooklyn into a viable residential extension of the Manhattan business district. This structure was the bridge that turned separate islands into one unified, unstoppable city. We now render Park Avenue South in 1890. Long before it became a synonymous address for prestige, it was a transitional commercial zone. The Grand Hotel dominates the block, with horse-drawn carriages waiting patiently on the cobblestones. At this point in history, the avenue is still defined by the open railroad tracks leading to Grand Central. The elite haven't moved this far south yet. They are still building their mansions further north. It won't be until the tracks are buried underground in the early 1900s that this section of the city receives its high society upgrade. The financial district of 1890 is a high-traffic environment. Streetcars bisect the lanes, while pedestrians dodge between heavy carts hauling goods to the docks. Awnings shade the storefronts where clerks and brokers spend their earnings. This is where the railroads of the West were financed and where the industrial giants of the North were born. The energy is electric, an organized chaos where every individual is a moving part in a much larger economic machine. Within a decade, these buildings will reach for the stratosphere, but the ambition is already fully loaded. Subscribe to Binary BC as we continue to upscale these historic crowds. In 1897, we lock onto Newspaper Row. Here, the tall towers of the New York World and the New York Tribune compete for dominance. These buildings aren't just offices, they are the servers of public opinion. Joseph Pulitzer's World Building rises as a testament to the power of the press. It was the tallest office building in the world when it opened. These newspapers had the power to expose corruption or ignite wars with a single headline. The Spanish-American War was essentially coded, here through sensationalist coverage that captured the national imagination. Our sensors moved to the High Bridge spanning the Harlem River. Opened in 1848 as part of the Croton Aqueduct system, this was the engineering feat that finally brought fresh water to a thirsty city. By 1899, it had become a scenic landmark. People row boats on the river below, enjoying a rare green gap in the expanding urban grid. New York layers its history, steel bridges built beside stone aqueducts, ensuring the pipes and systems that keep 2 million people alive stay functional beneath the surface. In 1895, Columbus Circle is a massive construction site. Steam rises from grading equipment as workers reshape the intersection where Broadway meets Central Park. This was an attempt to organize the geometric chaos where multiple major thoroughfares converged. Right now, it is a mess of mud and iron, but this is how every great New York landmark begins. Within years, it will be the primary traffic hub of the city, a pivot point between the residential north and the commercial south. By 1899, Fifth Avenue at 59th Street has become the ultimate display of Gilded Age excess. This is where the industrial fortunes of the Vanderbilts and Astors are made physical in the form of massive, chateau-style mansions. These families didn't just want comfort, they wanted to mimic European royalty. Their homes, built with imported stone and filled with looted art, faced Central Park, their own private backyard. Most of these structures would eventually be deleted and replaced by luxury hotels, but for now, they represent the absolute peak of American wealth. In Greeley Square, 1898, we see the defining feature of the era, the L, or elevated train. The iron tracks curve overhead, casting deep shadows on the street below. The L trains were loud, dirty, and leaked oil on pedestrians, but they were the only way to move hundreds of thousands of people through a city that had run out of horizontal space. Named after the famous editor Horace Greeley, this square was a bustling commercial intersection, a precursor to the massive retail districts that would soon define Midtown. Finally, we arrive at Bowling Green in 1898. This is the starting point of New York's history, the site of a former Dutch cattle market, and the place where colonists toppled the statue of King George III. By the late 90s, the financial towers are closing in on this small patch of green. It stands as a quiet reminder of the city's colonial past, even as the pressure for real estate reaches a fever pitch. In New York, even a park is a survivor. Through the power of binary BC, we see that the New York of the 1890s was a city under heavy construction, preparing itself for the 20th century. It was a time of immense growth, social friction, and architectural daring. If you want to see more historic grids and lost neighborhoods reconstructed by AI, subscribe to Binary BC. Tell us in the comments which city we should render next. This is Binary BC, where the past is always being updated. Stay tuned for the next data stream.